Nigeria, giant of Africa, Nigeria we want. Our fatherland, where's Nigeria? The Nigeria we want. With Vicky O Show, yeah, me show the moon. Wale Olaito, I've been say what shuku. The Nigeria we want. Where's Nigeria? On Vicky O Show every Saturday. The Nigeria we want. Where's Nigeria? Giant of Africa. Nigeria we want. Where's Nigeria?
Hello. Good evening, everybody. Or if it's morning over there, good morning. This is Vicky O Show, the Nigeria we want. Welcome to our show tonight. We have a great program planned for you. We will be talking about something very important. Please stay with us, watch us, and please do comment. Let us know where you're watching us from. We would like to know where you're watching us from. But before we go ahead, there are a couple of businesses who have been very, very supportive of the Nigeria We Want show. So they've been our sponsors, and we just want to give them an opportunity to shine on our show tonight. The first one is Capstone Medical Center. It's all about medical service provision here in Bairnsdale in Victoria, Australia. So just check them out. And their number is 51527135. Thank you so much to the owners and the directors of Capstone Medical Center for all your support. We appreciate you. The second business is Provision GSH Plus. GSH Plus is more about, looking after your health. It's a supplement to help you, when it comes to your health. Helping to fuel the cells carrying blood from one part of your body to the other. So it is something that I use that is helping me and is helping so many other people. At least so far so good. I've introduced over 100 people to Zion GSH Plus, and they all came in. They keep coming with raving reviews about what this supplement is doing for them, to their health. I can only share this with you because it's what I know, it's what I use, and it's helping me. Check them out. How is your energy? Do you struggle with having restful sleep? How is your immune system? Do you struggle with stress, concentration, and mental fatigue? GSH Plus is your answer. It's the answer that you need, because the ingredients contained in GSH Plus formula may support your immune system, optimize your strength and energy, and it can empower your daily living. Provision GSH Plus can be ordered through the link we've provided. If you're interested in knowing more about this, how about you send us an email, vickyoshow@gmail.com. vickyoshow@gmail.com, and we will get back to you. Or if you want to order, send us an email and we will link you up with those in charge of it. Now, we have some people watching us already. Creative Josh, thank you for commenting. You're watching from Nigeria. Thank you for that. And that's 500 naira airtime for you. Now it is time to bring our panelists. While your lights on, you are welcome to the Nigeria we want.
Thank you very much, my sister, Dr. Vicky. It's good to be back on our mental and
Always good to be
social
back.
therapy for the week.
Yeah, always good to be back. And Mr. Elvis Nwachukwu Igbo Kwenu.
Hey, hi,
Hello.
everyone.
Welcome,
Good
welcome.
to be back again. Thank you.
Always good. Saint Elvis.
Come back, Saint
Yeah.
Elvis. And see the saintly symbol behind him.
I think we should all
yeah?
have this fight.
Yeah,
But shouldn't be Elvis alone now doing the Saints thing.
it will take us along. I
mean,
trust. Yeah.
Don't worry. I'll share the secret with you at some point.
When the trumpets, before the trumpet sounds, please share the secret.
I know. All good. Yeah.
All right, it's time to bring our guest in. Mr. Kunle, welcome, sir.
Good day. It's morning time here. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Where are you joining us from?
Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay. Welcome. So
Thank
we
you.
will get Wale Olaito to introduce today's topic, and we can get the ball rolling. Our fourth panelist hopefully will be joining us shortly, Mr. Yemi Shodimo. Hopefully he will be able to join us shortly. All right. While you're live, before we actually go
quick.
into that, yes, sorry. We do have a segment where we talk about what is trending. So we go around just picking one thing to talk about. What is trending for you, what you've heard, whether in Nigeria or even around the world. But I would like to go first this time around, and then Elvis, Mr. Kule, and then Wale can share his, and then take get into today's show. So the one that I would like to share is about this, the building that collapsed in Ikoyi. Sorry, Elvis, I know, and there's something. I wanted to talk about it because it's calling to mind the kind of buildings that people are building all over the place. I actually saw one today where instead of iron rods, how strong iron rods can be. Some people are now using bamboos, the bamboo tree instead of iron. So what's going to happen if that kind of house collapses? Now, this house that collapsed in Ikoyi, what a sad incident. Number one, number two. One thing that we all need to look at when you go back and look at the picture, when cats, when your kids are playing with cats and the cats collapse, it just boom like that. We've seen places where whether it's a tornado or one of those stuff that happen and the houses collapse, the irons are there. You could see those irons still lifting some of the parts of the buildings up. Can you see any of those in this building that collapse? It's like flat, like just like that. There weren't any iron. How can you build? Not 2-story building, not 3, not 4. We're talking about 20, is it 26 levels?
21.
21.
Sorry, 21 levels, and there are no irons, in the pillars, holding those, the building up. I don't know how that works. Now, the other thing that also came to, some of the videos going around showed one pastor called Pastor Ashimolowo in United Kingdom, who was claiming, this video, that's why we all need to be careful what we do, how we do it, and what we say, because things do come back to haunt us. This man was claiming, not knowing that this will ever happen to this man, he was claiming that there was a time, there were people waiting for him to bless them, right? So he was trying to, make himself bigger. When this man, he mentioned his name, this same man that is building collapse, he was saying that this man, when he came to him and asked for him to put his hand on him and bless him and pray for him, after that, he went ahead and built houses in UK. He sold those properties and he made a lot of money. He now rushed back and asked, I need you to pray for me. I need you to put your hand on me again, because I'm thinking of other things. And he did. He laid his hands on him, prayed for him, and this guy went to Johannesburg and he built 126 buildings in Johannesburg, and he sold those properties for lots of money. He made a lot of money. Then he called him again. He called me again and said, I need to see you urgently. Where are you? And he said, I'm in Ghana. Okay, I will come over and see you right now. And this guy went to Ghana, and he laid his hand on him. And that's how he started building his properties in, these 3 gigantic properties in Ikoyi, and he's selling one for 1.2 million. He's making a lot of money, blah, 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 blah. Just to, everybody were running for him to bless them. It just brings to mind what is going on in Nigeria. This, not knowing that this was going to happen. And now with this thing that happened, who is to blame? Who is responsible for this? Are there no building inspectors? This is your territory, Elvis. You're more into property, so you will be able to enlighten us. Are there no building inspectors? Are there no, I remember when we were building we were building 2-story building. We traveled thinking that by the time we get back, they will have finished doing that would have seen the structure and everything. They were still digging by the time we got back from our holiday. And I'm like, what's taking you guys forever and ever just to make the foundation? You're digging. What are you digging? Where are you digging to? And they said this is what they have to do. Because before they can even do anything, then they do the foundation. The inspectors will need to come back and check, is it up to the way it's supposed to be, before they can go ahead and started putting on the structure. I'm like, there's nothing like that in Nigeria. What is going on? Sorry, I've taken more time on this, but it's just something that I can't stop thinking about. There are men and women that left home that day chasing how many naira? How much are they looking for? All of them, just like, they don't even know how many people were there. Here, you can't just go to a building site without signing that you were there. And then when you leave, you sign that I've finished and I'm going. They didn't even know how many people were there. So many people buried under that rubble. How can somebody be irresponsible and allow this to stand in that place? So, maybe we will talk more about it, but let's move on. Elvis, please.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think I'm just going to suggest when we do this, what's trending for us. Can I ask nicely that I get the first opportunity?
Sorry.
only because that's tops on my list. That's one of the issues I wanted to bring up tonight. And just to add to what you already stated, Vicky, in terms of regulatory requirements, it's a bit different what happens back home compared to what happens here. For instance, in Australia. In Australia, you have if you're undertaking a construction, it becomes mandatory that you have a building surveyor that will, inspect that property every stage. As you know, we've got 5 stages of construction here. You've got the slab, the frame, you've got the lockup, the fixing, and the final. Every of these stages, the surveyor comes in to check that the builder is actually doing the correct thing and building to the Australian code. On top of that, you as the building owner can, undertake to employing your own private inspector. That's another layer. So this one that's been engaged by the builder is doing his or her checks and making sure you're doing the right thing. And then the second, the other one you've engaged as well is getting paid and doing the same thing for you. So between these two, there's no way, you'll have this sort of errors that led to the collapse of this building we have in Nigeria. And plus, the builder as well gives you, some of them give you about 7 years structural warranty that if anything happens to that property within the 7 years of giving you the certificate of occupancy, they're fully responsible, either to correcting the errors or fixing whatever that issue may be. And the entire financial burden is undertaken by that individual. So I'm not sure we have this sort of system in place in Nigeria. I mean, I've seen where I remember I built a house in Nigeria in, I think it was 2001. A few years down the track, a laborer who was working on that site, I ran into him one of my trips back home. Guess what? He's become an engineer. He's now building houses, a laborer, without a formal education, without the relevant experience. You tell me, what sort of structures would that sort of individual be putting up? So I'm sure, having unqualified people on site and people also doing shoddy things, trying to cut corners, could be, but I'm sure, responsible for the disaster we have seen in Ikoyi. I even learned one of the professionals they had on site who started this project with them, I don't know how far it is true, down the track, when he saw things weren't going to, according to how they should actually be undertaking that construction, that they withdrew. They couldn't just stick it. They couldn't stand it, and they withdrew. So it's unfortunate people have lost their lives, and they're never, ever going to come back. It's a really sad thing that's happened in that space.
Yeah. Thank you, Elvis, for that, contribution. I'll go now to Mr. Kunle Oladapo to tell us what is trending for you. It could be on the same topic or something completely different, whatever is big for you in terms of, what has been happening this week.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to talk about this, the collapse, the building that collapsed in Ikoyi. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and I'm also going to talk about another thing relating to this COP26 that is happening in Glasgow presently. When I saw what happened, when I heard from the news what happened, I was a bit taken aback because maybe if it is something, if that incident will have happened maybe in some area like Agege, you understand, Ajegunle and everything, or Isaleko area, we will say it's given. But for such an incident to happen in Ikoyi, was a bit difficult for me to swallow in a way. But for me, I think it all speaks to the kind of systems that we have here in Nigeria. Most of the systems that we operate by is not sustainable. And I don't want to divert too much information. I'm also into occupational health and safety. This year, I had opportunity to relate with one of these government agency that has something to do with building within Lagos State. I'm not going to disclose the identity. But what I noticed in the course of working with them, it was very frustrating for me, because I discovered that the same people that made the law, they are the ones that will connive with the developers. You understand? They connive with the developers to defraud the process and also to defraud the government. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. And when you approach them and tell them, this is not the way we should do things, they put their weight behind the defaulters. Do you understand? And these are government people. These are civil servants. And for me, it was extremely difficult because I wasn't expecting them to do that. And when I heard about what happened, you know, government, we can't take anything away from government because of what happened. They are culpable. And what happened about, I heard that also that thing that Pastor Matthew said, Ashimolo. But I want us to look at it in another way, in a way. This is a man building UK, but the building is still standing today. This is a man building South Africa, SA, and it's still standing today. You understand? I'm not here to be like his mouthpiece, but I'm just being objective. Maybe we need to look at ourselves as a people, as a nation. Is our system robust enough, do you understand, to do things the way we need to do things? You understand? I'm talking about the best practice globally. I think that's where the problem is. A lot of corruption. You know, for such a structure to even get approval, government approval, the first thing they need to do, because of the magnitude of that structure, they were supposed to do an EIA, which is environmental impact assessment. Do you understand? I'm not too sure. See, what operates in this in this state, let me say what operates here in this part of the world is this. The town planner that will approve that thing has a generic report, an EIA report, that is not even specific to that project that you want to do. And when you go and meet them, what they will do to you, they will hand over that EIA report to you for a fee. All you need to do is just to go and change the name, the description of the project, and the project owners, and you submit back to them and they approve. Do you understand? And EIA is supposed to look at what are the pros and cons of, you understand, setting up that project. But here, that's what they do, and they are the one that will hand over that document to you. Just go and make these changes and submit back, we approve, and this is how much you need to pay. And that's what they do. Do you understand? And that's why I'm saying that it's all about our system that is faulty, and we need to look at ourselves and be able to tell ourselves the hard truth. That's by the way. The second thing that was training for me is I think about yesterday or 2 days ago, I saw a video about people protesting in the street, on the street of Glasgow, at the venue of the COP26 that is presently happening right now. And what they were saying, that they were demanding for climate justice. They were demanding for climate justice. And the thing is this, they believe that world leaders have been paying lip service to this issue of climate change. They know the problem, you understand, but they are not prepared to go headlong to solve the problem. They play a lot of politics around this issue. They attend this COP. It's a yearly conference. Next year, they will gather in another country. But over the year, they discover that we are not even making progress concerning this issue. And we are just playing lip service. We are playing lip service. Maybe because of the economic benefits those industrialized nations are getting, they are not ready to face the fact and cut down their emission, so to say. And these are the issues that we need to look at. And for me, the protest was not hijacked. Maybe maybe I need to say that. Maybe because of the part of the world I come from wasn't hijacked, but it was peaceful. At least people were able to express themselves. Those are the things that are trending for me this week.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Wale, yeah. I merely just interjected there. Can I also just share quickly in 1 minute what is actually trending for me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. So finally, the Anambra State elections is holding today in Anambra State. You know, undermining the threats of insecurity. It's a good thing that election is going ahead. I saw on the internet yesterday, this Sam Ekpa of IPOB made an announcement to say, look, they were calling off the sit at home. So I guess maybe just encouraging people to go out there to cast their votes. But fears have been expressed prior to the election as to you know, the potential for that election to be credible on the premise that almost all the policemen in Nigeria and soldiers have been sent to Anambra State to dominate. To dominate. So, you know, people have expressed concerns, especially members of the opposition parties like the PDP and which other PDP, which there's this other, you know,
APGA.
There's
APGA, yeah, APGA, exactly. Thank you.
Shukuma those party, and there's Andy Uba of
Andy Uba is APC, isn't it?
APC,
yeah. So look, we'll just fingers crossed. We hope all goes well, and that those accusations or those suspicions don't come to fruition. But at the end of the day, yep, it's a good thing. The election is is happening today.
Thanks so much. I will go straight to the program. I also, in terms of that election, is also important thing trending for me. We've got three main candidates: Valentino Sigbo of PDP, Andy Uba of APC, and Professor Shukuma Soludo of APGA. So my main issue is that for the state to witness peaceful election is a sign of underdevelopment when you have elections and there are violence everywhere and unnecessary loss of lives. And to even think that the IGP sent 34,000 police officers to that state alone just to conduct an election is a sign that we should all be worried about. I don't know how many police officers that we actually have in the Nigerian police force to send 34,000 to just one particular state when we are dealing with banditry, terrorism, and a lot of kidnapping across the nation. Anyway, we move on to our program. Tonight we're discussing social and economic impacts of climate change. As we're talking tonight, we have world leaders gathered in Glasgow, Scotland, to discuss how global emissions can be, reduced, like having zero emissions by 2050. To have us to discuss that program, we have Mr. Kunle Oladapo. Mr. Kunle Oladapo is an environmentalist and sustainable development expert. So you're welcome to the program. Just to really get the ball rolling, can you quickly introduce yourself, to our members, especially your affiliation to the, that environmental movement and sustainable development? Who is Mr. Kunle Oladapo?
Thank you so much.
Or two. Yeah.
Okay, can I go on now?
Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Oladapo. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Kunle Oladapo by name, and I'm an environmentalist and a sustainable development enthusiast. I'm passionate about my environment. I don't know why. I've had the opportunity to abandon this course, but each time I find myself coming back to it. And for me, I see it as a calling. I see it as a calling. I trained as an environmentalist. My first degree is in environmental management and toxicology. My second degree too was in environmental management, and I've also done some maybe some courses that are related, some on green growth and Wet Center for Development Study in Israel and some other international institutes. I'm also a certified occupational health and safety professional. I do that too, by the way. But I have how many years now? Maybe close to about 20 years working experience in different sectors of our economy here in Nigeria, oil and gas, government. Not that I've worked with government, but trying to influence policies, trying to help, you understand, to lend a helping hand, and also in the private sector. That's what I've been doing. So far, so good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oladapo. Talking about climate change, you know, there are two more. Before I go, Egmon Yemi Shodimo, you are welcome to the program. Yes, so Mr. Oladapo, so talking about climate change, you know, the two main terms that often used interchangeably, you know, in global warming and climate change, they often used interchangeably. Can you please tell in a very simple term, like in a layman language, how can you really explain that, you know, to our viewers, you know, the concept of global warming and the other concept of climate change? What is the correlation and what is the difference between the two?
All right, thank you so much. Like you said, a lot of people use this term interchangeably, and they think, yes, they are similar, but they are not the same. And I will explain. Global warming talks about the rise in global temperature as a result of the increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases. Let me talk about that greenhouse gases, because a lot of people may not really understand what are greenhouse gases. We may have heard about this term, but let me try to explain. Like I said, global warming is referred to the increase in global temperature due to the increase in concentration of these greenhouse gases. And what are these greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases are the gases that trap heat. They trap heat. What they do is this: they allow the sun rays or sunlight to pass through them. You understand? They allow the sunrise to pass through them. But in the process of passing through them, they trap the energy, that heat energy that the sunlight carries. They trap it and they don't allow it to, you understand, to go back, so to say. And by that, they warm the environment, they warm the earth, they warm our environment. Yes, it's good for, in a way, greenhouse gases are beneficial. In a way, they are beneficial. But the problem right now is this: because if there are no greenhouse gases, so to say, we have extreme cold, you understand, weather all around. They are the ones that help us to keep up, in a way, our environment, in a way. But the problem is this: since several years now, because of a lot of activity, like the quest for industrialization, and we have a number of cars on the road right now that depend on fossil fuel, and in the process, the byproduct of those processes, you understand, is those greenhouse gases have been able to find their way into the environment, because from transportation, we release more of carbon dioxide. You understand? Example of those greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide. We have them more now in the atmosphere, and because we have them more, that has increased the global temperature, because since we have them more, they they trap more heat and they emit it. You understand? And that's why we are experiencing global warming. Another example is methane gas. Another one is chlorofluorocarbon. They call it CFC. Now, chlorofluorocarbon was the major refrigerant that they use in our old refrigerators and freezers. Do you understand? Now they've stopped it because they've discovered that CFC is a major, one of the major contributors to this global to these greenhouse gases, so to say. And that's about global warming. Climate change now refers to the increasing changes that we experience when you measure the climate over a period of time. Do you understand? And it includes about precipitation. It talks about rainfall, that is rainfall patterns. It talks about wind patterns. It talks about also temperature, this global warming that we are talking about. Do you understand? It's more holistic when you measure climatic changes over time. And you are not only talking about temperature alone now. You are also talking about wind patterns. You are talking about the rainfall pattern, precipitation. You are talking about so many of those things. When you measure that over time, you can actually say that, okay, what we are experiencing is climate change.
Thank you very much. I want us to now go to specifics.
All right.
Like what you said, you've been able to define what climate change means and what global warming means. People have argued, some people will argue, skeptics will argue that the climate has been changing forever, that there's nothing really new happening around us, that go back to biblical stories and go back to other stories. There are examples there of changing weather and changing pattern of weather. Skeptics have argued that. So let's bring it down to kind of evidence-based research. In Australia here, there's Great Barrier Reef. It's one of the most preserved natural environment in the world. They've conducted research to show that in terms of climate, is really increasing temperature, and the natural habitats is really affected. Can you give us a specific example of natural environments in Nigeria, where we can say, okay, this is an example of climate change happening, or the effect of climate change, or the effect of global warming, any natural environment that people have conducted research in Nigeria?
All right, thank you. I think the major one that I want to bring out is this Lake Chad Basin region. Lake Chad Basin region. That region has been facing one of the world's greatest humanitarian crises in recent times. And in 2017, it was recorded that more than 7 million people were suffering from severe food insecurity because of the climate change issue that that region is experiencing. And also that more than 2 million people have been displaced because of the intractable conflict plaguing that region. A lot of people around that region depend on the on this Lake Chad for so many things, for agriculture to some extent. They fish there and all that. Also, for the people in grazing, they also depend on the vegetation around that axis. And this is because at that time, before before the impact of climate change is biting harder now on that axis, there is more or less like appreciable rainfall pattern that is predictable over time, because you understand there is grazing land and everything. But because of the negative impact of climate change around that axis right now, we've had people being displaced, a number of people experiencing food insecurity, poverty, hunger around that axis. And this is even a major problem right now, because even the issue of the herdsmen that we're experiencing here in Nigeria, the conflict. Yes, I know there are a lot of political undertone to that problem right now. The politician must have hijacked that process, but the bottom, the beginning, the major issue that started this conflict that we have right now is majorly climate change. And if this is what we are experiencing right now, this is not, if you have pictures of that place right now, you can compare it to what obtains in that place maybe about 20, 50, 30 years. You discover that it's not the same right now. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oladapo. I'll pause you there and then I'll go to other members of the panel. Okay. We know that climate change and its policies globally is a very divisive kind of topic, even in the advanced countries. There are people that have divergent views about a lot of things, and we want to try and maintain the balance on that topic, in our discussion. Egbonyemi, are you there? I think Egbonyemi. Okay, I go to Elvis, and we can just interact. And look, some have argued that the industrialized nations of the world, the so-called developed nations, they use fossil fuels like coal and gas, petrol and petroleum products to really develop their economy. That the industrialized world, they rode on that back of that kind of natural resources to develop their nations. Some people have argued a level of hypocrisy on their part. Like there are other countries, trying to move up. You can talk about a place like India, you can talk about China, and you can talk about other nations in the developing nation trying to use, fossil fuel, gas, and coal to develop things that for about 100 years or 200 years, the Western world used to develop their economy. So some people have seen the hypocrisy that they develop their economy from those resources, and now preventing other nations in a way with all this campaign about global warming and climate change. I'll go to Egbon. Is there do you subscribe to that argument of hypocrisy on the part of the Western Western world in terms of trying to reduce these emissions and trying to stop more importantly developing nations from using their natural resources to develop?
Let me say a big thank you to you, Wale. Elvis, nice to be with you again. And of course, our guest, I say thank you so much. Before I answer that question, you raised an issue when you were starting. You said you weren't sure why really you are so passionate about the environment. I want to answer the guests, and that is simply because you are passionate about living. I think it's because you are passionate about staying alive. Now, back to you, Wale. The problems are staring us in the face. That is the reality. Initially, we were tending towards ignoring the alarm bell. And that's not far-fetched. It's because we have a myriad of problems facing us in this part of the world. So many problems facing us. A lot of the problems have probably been tackled by the developed world. And maybe we now see that, okay, they are probably well fed. There are some little things they don't need to bother about. They probably do not need to bother about power. They don't need to bother about moving from one end to the other in terms of transportation. They don't need to bother about a lot of things. So they will have enough time for this. However, the reality also is that this developed world got to the place where they are using all these substances that are now seen to be detrimental, to the environment. That is the reality. So if we in this world, in this part of the world, are reacting to what we term as hypocrisy, it is well understood. Because apart from those substances, a lot of our sweat of our forefathers went into developing those worlds, that part of the globe. So it would probably be natural for us to look at it from the angle that, wait a minute, these guys they've crossed the bridge. They're not breaking down. They've crossed it to the other side of the river. They're not breaking down the bridge, kind of. But we still cannot run away with the fact that we have this ailment, we have these problems, we are faced with this environmental disaster. We are faced with, it's just, I guess, just mentioned the Lake Chad thing. He has said it the way it can be said. That is the honest truth. I actually was thinking he was going to start with the desert, the Sahara and all that, the encroachment of the desert, you know, and all that, as a result of felling of trees and all that, and all other harmful practices. But he has raised a very valid point, which is that of the Lake Chad area. And it is important for us to hold it and look at a way of solving this thing. Some of it we may not need to reinvent, because a lot has gone into certain things. A lot of researches has gone into it. Like, I'm in this session today. I'm taking this session today as a masterclass. I'm here to really learn today. But that is not to say one will hold back one's input. It is an alarm clock. It is danger staring us in the face. It is something that could eliminate a lot of lives. And we need help. Seriously, we need help. And luckily for us, we still have some extra. I mean, we're lucky to have someone like our guest here, who has tried in his own way to influence government policies and all that. We need to encourage people like this more, so that we can get out of the woods. There's danger. There's real danger. Quite all right. But poverty, the economy, is a big major hindrance to taking positive steps towards solving this. Let's encourage more of our experts and let's listen to them. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Egbon Yemi, for that, I guess, balanced view on the one hand, acknowledge that it is what it is with global warming, but at the same time, you know, acknowledging, you know, that the West or developed nation, they also develop their nations from some of the resources they are campaigning against in terms of other nations like China, India, and a lot of other countries, and there's a lot of international diplomacy around that. So I'll go back to Elvis, and I still want to continue that kind of discussion around the level of poverty in Nigeria. Can we imagine even going to ask an average Nigeria on the streets about what they know about, you know, global warming or climate change and the impacts in terms of human activities and all that? So still on that topic of poverty and underdevelopment, Elvis, do you think, in terms of most of the pressing issues that we have in Nigeria now, do you think, even for the government and for our people, do you really think an average Nigeria, you know, consider that as a major problem? Here in Australia, another part of the world, we have the greens, as a party, and they are as a party, they are dedicated to nothing more than environmental policies and renewable energy and sustainable development. That is what they focus on as a party. So what is your take? In a way, we're trying to have a balanced kind of argument. Do you think, an average Nigerian in Lagos or Onitsha or Kano really cares about these concepts that we're talking about here tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Wale. I'll just take it from where Edmond, left it before I delve into that. The question about whether the West is being hypocritic, it's a logical argument. But again, the big question there is how long ago did the West develop their economy on these natural resources that we refer to? Did the world face as much threat to the environment as we currently face in 2021? Are there, these are rhetorical questions. Are there other alternatives to developing the economies of these countries without causing as much damage to the environment? If there are alternatives there that these countries can explore, are they actually exploring these alternatives? I mean, I know a time frame has been set as well. A number of countries have, made pronouncements as to when they can actually beat their chest and say, yes, look, we're changing everything all together. This is not something that's got to be done in a hurry. I know it's going to be a staged process. I think even asking the underdeveloped countries to explore other alternatives is not something that's going to be done overnight. Perhaps that's another way to look at it. If these questions could be answered objectively, then you can now categorically make that pronouncement whether they're being hypocritic or whether they're actually being objective in making those asking for the underdeveloped countries to explore other alternatives. Now, back to the main question, Wale. The situation that is prevalent back home, of course, as you and I know, will make it difficult, if not impossible, for the average man on the streets to really understand the language of preserving our environment. I mean, how is that possible with people running past my neighbor generators on a daily basis? With like in the UK, for instance, if you're going to visit the town center, I think around Oxford and all of those areas, they discourage you to bring in your car into that area because you'd have to pay a certain amount of money to actually drive into that part of town. So what they've done there is that, of course, they've gone the train services, I believe, is the best in the world. So they've made all these provisions to deter people from thronging into the city with their cars and causing a lot of pollution in that space. So they've given you an alternative: go on the train or drive your car and pay that enormous amount you need to pay, which discourages a lot of people from taking their cars into town. And it used to happen. I remember when I was growing up, my dad had two cars. One was even number, the other one was odd number. I don't know whether anybody here, experienced that or knew about it then.
In Lagos, that there are days, there are certain numbers that can, odd numbers.
Exactly. On a particular day, you go with this number. On another day, you go with the other number.
Yeah.
So the question is, are there, enough, are there enough things in place to actually deter people from living their lives the way they ordinarily would? I mean, you've got, NEPA there, where you don't have electricity. If you save maybe a couple of hours a day, people have to run their generators. A lot of businesses rely on those generators to drive. People make a living from running generators, and if you take it down to the transport system as well, because that's a lot of the pollution comes from those areas. I don't know how much of the road. I know Lagos State government has the MOT. I don't know how much of it they enforce. How many of those vehicles are actually roadworthy? Yeah, how many of them are roadworthy? I mean, you will see some of them having a cloud of smoke when they. But these guys have to survive. Those buses have to be kept on the road. Those taxis have to be on the road. People have to make a living. People have to survive. So we're not quite there yet, to be honest. Wale, we're not quite there yet. You talk about the drought in the north, which is, as my brother alluded to here, the initial cause of the problems with the headsmen. So some of this, is linked to the drought in that area. They need to take their livestock around to feed them, to give them water to drink. So honestly, at the moment, it's really not. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for now until something different happens in future. Yeah.
No worries. We'll be going back to Mr. Oladapo later. He's a sustainable development expert. He'll be telling us his ideas about how sustainable these ideas are. But before we move on, I'll go to Dr. Vicky. She actually started this topic. I remember last week we were talking about, what was trending for us, and we spoke. I think I spoke about, World Bank coming up with these statistics that climate change may displace 9.4 million Nigerians by 2050. We spoke about climate migrants. I'm not sure, that was just last week, that on top of the economic migrants and refugees and humanitarian migrants, we're going to have on top of that what the term climate migrants, people that will be displaced as a result of climate change. Dr. Vicky, so what is your take on this? You portrayed, you alluded to the climate change in the last time when we spoke. You spoke about visiting Lagos and some other parts with all the cloud covered with smoke. And then you said the last time you were in Nigeria that you were also in a certain area in Ondo State where you saw natural environment. So what is your take on this? I think the panelists, we've been trying to balance. There's no argument that the climate is changing, but we're trying to balance in terms of the economic activities and survival on the part of our people. How do we maintain that balance? On one hand, addressing these issues, and the other hand, in a way, knowing that we've got enough on our plates to deal with. So what is your take on this discussion?
Just like Elvis commented before, I used to live in a place called Tiragon in Latrobe Valley. And that's where I lived for 18 years. We have Latrobe, a mine where they mine coals and turn it into energy. So that place was, what they were producing there was actually, creating electricity for many, many people, thousands or millions of people in Victoria. It was only 2 years ago that they closed it down. But all along, it's been coals and coals and coals, and they've used it for so many things. In terms of economic, right? Now, everybody's saying, oh, coal is not good, it's not clean, it's not this, it's not that. But they've used it all along. Now, when we talk about Nigeria, and I said this last week as you commented, that we need to look at the situation. One of these guys in Nigeria was actually commenting last week about the reason why many companies are leaving Nigeria, mainly because of the lack of electricity. And we know how powerful electricity is. You know what we can do with electricity. You know what that can do, in terms of economic for us in Nigeria. Now, there's no electricity. According to Elvis, and we all know this, I better pass my neighbor generator that almost every other house's own generator. Some people are making lots of money out of importing generators into Nigeria. It's not like we're even making it there. So we're talking about global warming. I'm not sure, Mr. Kunle. Sorry, today's my daughter's 18th. I have guests here, so I'm just being running up and down between the show and but. I mean, after I talked last week, I thought about when people are hungry, what's gonna happen? Global warming becomes something they don't want to look into. It becomes, by the way, is there global warming really? They are hungry. They don't have electricity. They can't do whatever. They can't sell their market without electricity. They can't do this. They can't do that. So we're talking about electricity there. They rely on generator. We're talking about them using coal to even make corn. The corn that we eat, jeje, barley. They use coal. So many people's income relies on that coal. They must have the coal to be able to make, corn. I don't know what you call that, roasted corn, to make roasted plantain, to make roasted yam, to sell and feed their family. You look at the whole thing. We are not at the same level as Western countries. Australia can say coal is not clean anymore after so many years of using it to make electricity, right? They can do that because they have other options. Electric cars is getting, they are even giving people incentive to go and buy electric car, right? They are trying to make sure that there are electric car chargers situated in strategic places to reduce the amount of people driving petrol car. They can do that. Imagine, there was somebody that bought Tesla. In Nigeria, how can you buy Tesla? Where there's no electricity. The person ran out of power, and he asked somebody to bring him generator.
I think he should be taking the generator around in the car.
What if somebody brought generator to his car to charge the car a little bit so that he can take the car back home?
Dr. Vicky, since you are throwing stones now, let me just quickly react to that. Elvis, well done. Here, I'll tell you, here it is good, just good enough to boast that I have one in the garage. That is all.
Yes.
It's probably just good enough to, so that when you get to your social clubs and you are even lucky to have enough power for it to take you there, not necessarily to take you back, you can show it to friends. Like, yeah, I've got a Tesla out there in the car park. That's us. But pardon us.
And good luck if you take it home or not from that social gathering or not.
Do you still wonder why I keep asking the question?
A lot of this go back to the availability of electricity infrastructure. Like Vicky was saying earlier, you even forgot the biggest one. Ebon loves his amala. All the amala cooked in Nigeria is done. They use coal. They do the large cooking. All the those restaurants, they can't do without.
We have upgraded though.
Oh well, okay. Some of them may have upgraded.
We have upgraded though.
I mean, you also forgot to mention.
Elvis, for your information, the amala made with gas tastes different from that made with coal.
Oh, here, let me just chip in something. Perhaps Vicky did also mention. Here in Victoria, like in an effort, in a bid to encourage the preservation of the environment as well, the government actually encourages people to obtain solar electricity, solar panels. They give you as much as $5,000 that you don't need to pay back.
Yeah.
To help you purchase that piece of equipment. Yeah. So it's still a lot of it, like a lot of this also ties to what's actually on ground, how sustainable are those facilities, are they actually available for people to use? Perhaps if they had constant electricity, that will also help reduce the damage to the environment. So that's a really huge factor.
Sorry.
Can I say something?
If you permit me,
okay.
Can I go on, please?
Yeah, just a second. Egmont will make his contribution, and I will come back to Mr. Oladapo with another question. And with that, you can respond to other, some of the comments that they've made. Okay, Egmont, please.
Okay. Let me say two things, which I think one way or the other points to a degree and a very high level of hypocrisy of the developed world. I'll tell you one thing. One, I am more than convinced that if the developed world was not suffering or was not affected by this climate change issue and global warming issue, they probably will not be calling roundtables for this. We've had disasters in Africa, endless ones. We've had drought, we've had wars, and we've had people dying in their scores, in hundreds, as a result of even natural occurrences. I am not too sure the developed world has been up and running as a result of this. And now this is a global issue. This is something that is affecting them. And obviously, they are very, very concerned. That's why you have one World Summit after the other. But outside that, Elvis raised an issue, which I think is very key. And Dr. Vicky also alluded to it. Now, we are talking about how it affects us here. The honest truth is one of the major things contributing to it, just as has been identified, has to do with pollution through vehicles, cars, trucks, and all that. But over 80%, if not 90%, of the vehicles on our roads, including large trucks, are vehicles already used in the Western world, and of course shipped here at the point where they will start causing environmental problems.
Exactly.
The point at which they ship out this vehicle is that point where they start smoking or they start having issues. They do not comply with environmental specifications. Now you bring them over here because of our poverty, because of our ignorance, because of our economic level. You bring them down here, they litter our roads, they litter our environments, and they start causing this same problem that we are talking about. So where do we go from here? Where?
Thank you. Thank you, Egbo.
This is not to take away from the fact that it is a reality. And I respect every word uttered by Mr. Kunle Oladapo on this issue.
Thank you very much. And Egbo, I will go to Mr. Kunle Oladapo. Time is fast spent. So I want you to touch on renewable energy in Nigeria. With world moving in that direction, how long can we continue to rely on petroleum products? In terms of sustaining our economy, can you talk us through some of those renewable energies in Nigeria, and also be able to touch on the social and economic impact of climate change in Nigeria, and talk about the so-called green economy? There's a lot of talk about green economy in developed nation. I would appreciate if you can just put all those things together. Renewable energy sources in Nigeria, how long can we really rely on petroleum products, and example of green economy in Nigeria? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe I will, in answering the question, I will also say some things more or less like to react to what everybody has said. I think the problem we have in Nigeria is sincerity of purpose when it comes to our leaders. A number of them are not forward thinking. They are not thinking about the total well-being of us as a people. Yes, we can blame the Western world, but they've been able to do so much for their people. Even right now, they are thinking and they are working towards post hydrocarbon fuel. They are working right now. But here in Nigeria, we are not even thinking. We are still trying to, maybe recently, they signed PIB into law, and people are clapping, jubilating. And I'm not trying to condemn that. If they implement it, definitely will help in a little way. But I don't think that should be what we should be celebrating right now. If we are forward thinking, by now we should be working towards post PIB. Do you understand? If you are signing PIB into law in 2021, we know that there's a problem.
Can you break it down for us? PIB, that acronym, what does it stand for?
That's the Petroleum Industry Bill. Petroleum Industry Bill. And in that bill, they are saying that, okay, 30% of the revenue will also go back into reinvesting into that industry or that sector, which is fantastic. You understand when you look at it from the surface. But we are not investing at all when it comes to this renewable energy. The whole world is shifting right now. The whole world is working towards, maybe very soon, they will pack those fossil fuel, will pack it up, and they will begin to depend on cleaner energy sources. Do you understand? But here in Nigeria, we are not thinking about that. And the thing is that we have a lot of these natural resources all around us. We have sunlight. And I don't know why we don't have solar farms, especially in the northern part of this country. I don't know why we don't have that solar farms. Solar farms can take care of those expanse of land in the northern region. They can supply them electricity. And we don't have to put everybody on the national grid. But there is no political will to do that. Let me share this. Some years back, I was somewhere outside the country, It was a company that manufactures solar panels or something professionally. They do that. And when I got there with some people, I saw some pictures in their maybe in their album, because they brought out the album, and I saw a governor in Nigeria, a governor in northern part of Nigeria, visited that company, took pictures, and do you understand? And I was looking at it in a way. I felt, oh, maybe this is the beginning of good things to come. But this is about how many years after? Nothing has been done to that effect. And why are we wasting the taxpayers' money? We go on that trip, but nothing comes out of it. Do you understand? Now, solar is something that we can take advantage of. It's cleaner when it comes to, yes, I know a number of us, when we're talking, we've discussed about the energy problem that we have in Nigeria. It's because we are all looking up to the national grid. And what we generate today cannot even take care of maybe 1/4 of the country. So to say, if we have to have 24 hours light, so to say, why don't we look at other sources, cleaner sources? Do you understand? Cleaner sources. Solar is one of them. Wind energy is another thing. We can put wind vanes in different locations, and by that time, we can begin to generate energy. We can begin to generate power. But I don't know, the government, and I don't know, is it that maybe we don't have people at the end of our affairs thinking about how we can improve on what we have right now? That's why I said we can't blame the civilized world. They will keep going. They will keep growing. They will keep advancing. And when we look at ourselves, I see we are still how many years behind? And we need to do catch up. And I'm not too sure we are ready to even catch up right now. I'm not too sure we are ready to do the catch up. We are not ready to do the catch up. I think it's key. We need to look at that. We need to look at that. We can have solar panels. And I spoke to 1 or 2 people about this solar panel, and some people say, oh, and I know it's very expensive, do you understand? But government can subsidize that. I know we are subsidizing fuel here in Nigeria, petrol, diesel, do you understand? Especially diesel. I think diesel has been deregulated, fully deregulated, but petrol, premium motor spirit. But there are other things that we can subsidize, and we know it's just a one-off. We are not. It's not going to be a recurrent expenditure for government if we subsidize people to buy solar panel. And we know that the moment you do that, you hands off. You understand? Government is not going to subsidize it. It's just going to be one-off thing. But why are we not looking at those areas? Why are we not looking at those areas? I think we need to look inward. We need to look inward. We need to look inward. Another, I think you also talk about what are the social and economic impacts, yes, of climate change in Nigeria. In this part of the world, especially Lagos, most states in the Niger Delta region, we've been experiencing extreme flooding, incessant flooding over the years. I think maybe, is it in July in Lagos, it rained and everywhere was flooded. The whole of Lekki, I think Ajah, and some parts of like Lagos Island was more or less like, you understand, submerged under this water. Properties were damaged. And I heard some lives were lost. It's because we don't capture the essence of news here in Nigeria. They would rather suppress the truth. Lives were lost and everything. And those are the impacts. Now, when you understand, impact on the physical structure, impact on the infrastructure and every other thing, and also lives were lost. Lives were lost. Businesses were affected. Businesses were affected. So there are some businesses that were lost because of this flooding, and this thing has become a yearly thing. Incessant flooding. Incessant flooding. And the problem, let me chip in this, because as we are talking, we're also looking at solutions. You know, the problem in these states, I'm talking about Lagos and most of these coastal states in Nigeria, is because the floodplain that was supposed to act as buffer, you understand, in time of maybe excess precipitation or rainfall, that should, you understand, act as buffer, those those wetlands has been allocated for development. Those areas have been allocated for development. Those areas have been sand-filled and it's been allocated, has been sold, because we want to focus mainly on the naira and kobo, what we can get. These are the problems. But if those wetlands were preserved, those wetlands were not allocated for development, I'm so sure sometimes you have excess rainfall, so to say, that area will have acted as buffer. You understand? But since we've sold those, we've allocated those areas for development and everything, when you have what we have right now, yes, I know we have reduced rainfall right now, but in terms of frequency, the volume has increased. Do you understand? The volume, the frequency has reduced, but the volume has increased. I mentioned the issue of this herdsman issue at the beginning. It's also serious conflict right now, but the genesis of that problem is purely climate change. The genesis of that problem is climate change. I know that issue has been hijacked, has been politicized and everything. People are using it, but the major problem, the major issue that started that problem was because of climate change. And right now you have conflict. That has resulted into serious security issue, kidnapping, banditry, and all sorts. I think when you look at naira and kobo, lives are also been lost because of all these issues. Farmland has been destroyed. You understand? Farmland has been destroyed and everything. And when you want to quantify that, you understand, economically, that must have impacted negatively even on the economic well-being of the nation. And we need to look at it. When we begin to think this way, when a number of us think that, okay, because it's not my problem. Oh, this problem is only happening in the north. This whole problem is only happening in the south. It's only the Niger Delta problem. But when we look at it holistically, it's our problem. That's why we should not play lip service. That's why we should keep advocating. We should keep, and you understand, educating even the people in government, because a number of them don't know. I've interacted with most of these regulators. A number of them don't know, and they are the ones that will make laws. They are the ones that will implement. But when they don't know their left from their rights, how are we going to move forward as a people and as a nation? These are issues that we need to know. And maybe let me say one, and because of time, I'm close. The environmental degradation that we are experiencing in Niger Delta too is also a serious climate change problem. And you may want to ask me, why is it a climate change problem? We've been flaring gas since the day we started prospecting for oil in that season, in that region rather. Gas flaring, and that gas flaring has been going on 24 hours, 365 days of every year. You understand? When you have big, what do they call those ones? Like big burners, flaring gas, those associated gas can also be turned into another source of energy instead of just wasting. And the thing is this, we've been paying lip service to all these issues. Oh, we'll stop flaring gas by year 2000. But we are here in year 2021 and we are still flaring gas. We are still flaring gas. We are introducing carbon dioxide into the environment 24 hours of the year on a daily basis. 24 hours of the year on a daily basis. As a people, I think we need to look inward. And we're also talking about green economy. What are the opportunities here in Nigeria? I've mentioned one. I said the solar farm it's a major opportunity for anybody to invest. But the problem is this: there is no enabling environment yet to back up any investor in that sector. I think government needs to put system in place. They need to deregulate this thing. I know they are talking about they privatize that sector and everything, but they need to look beyond what we have right now. They need to look at other greener sources, other cleaner sources.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oladapo. We can see why you're so passionate. You asked a rhetorical question at the beginning, why you're so passionate about the environment. We can see now why you're passionate. We hope that the policymakers, and the implementators, they are listening. We try to balance the two sides of the argument. By no means we're here to blame the West for whatever is happening. It is our problem, and we should take those problems squarely and address them for what they are at the end of the day. Thanks so much. And I will go. It's that time of the day that we go around the team to have what we call our final words for tonight. I'll go. I can start with you. I'll give you 30 seconds. Have your final words. It might be word of advice, and then I'll go to Elvis Egbon, and I'll hand over back to Dr. Vicky. Mr. Oladapo, your final words. 30 seconds, please. Okay.
I just want to talk a little bit about environmental education or awareness in this part of the world. Mr. Elvis was talking about something close to that at the initial stage. And when you go on the street, you talk to an average Nigerian, a number of them don't know the pros and cons of their actions. You understand? Action and reaction. You understand? They don't know that if I do this, this is the repercussion. And I know we have National Orientation Agency. I think this is one of the things they need to do. I've also been advocating that we need to go to the schools by maybe we can include this environmental education in the curriculum right from the primary school, so that we catch them young, so that we are creating, so to say, a new generation of Nigerians that are environmentally conscious, and I know what exactly you need to do. Let me stop there because of time.
Thank you. Mr. Elvis Nwachukwu.
Yeah, thank you, Wale. I'll just touch, just briefly on a few things, and then this will be my final words. I'm just going to mention something. You raised a very important issue where you said, cars that come from overseas to Nigeria are almost dead and gone when they are exported to Nigeria, and this, is a source of the issue, one of the sources of the issues we face back home. Now, that's a valid point. However, I need to state here that even here in Australia, we have cars that are old, that are 20, 30 years. People still put them on the road. But you know the difference, Ebon? They go through emission tests. If that car fails that emission test, you don't get registration, and you can't have that car on the road. Perhaps that's also something that the regulatory agencies could be looking at in Nigeria to preserve the environment. My brother, you touched on the gas flaring. It was as if you were in this program last week. I spoke exactly about the gas flaring in the Niger Delta. And I also made a comment. I said, a lot of these companies who operate in Niger Delta in Nigeria are also Western countries, who know what it takes and who know what they should actually be doing. They know what the norm is in the West. Why are they not having those exact same practices back home? It comes down to our own people who are actually meant to be enforcing these rules. So that's a problem. There needs to be a shift. There needs to be a change in attitude, in the way of doing things. And you made, on a lighter note, you made comments and you mentioned Naira and Kobo on twice. Please leave the Kobo, just mention the Naira. We're okay with the Naira because I know the Kobo doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Noted.
So that's I'll just take this as my final word so that I don't eat into our time.
Thank you, Egbon Yemi. So, Mr. Kunle, I told you when I was introducing the program to you, I said we have Egbon Yemi Shodimo as one of our.
Yes.
Do you know Egbon Yemi Shodimo I was in now?
Yes, I very well. I remember growing up watching him. Is it OGTV then way back? Nice meeting you here, sir.
Unmute.
Your final words, Egbon.
Unmute.
Egbon.
Nice meeting you too.
Nice meeting you, sir.
Yes, and nice having you here. Elvis, thank you for giving me the tips to my final words.
Okay.
You know why they pass those tests out there? You don't drive them on roads with potholes all over the place. You don't fill them with adulterated oil. You do not fill them with adulterated fuel. So they will pass. Understand? They will. That is why I will agree with you. We need a change of attitude. We need a reorientation towards life. And that is a major issue that we need to solve this way. I agree. Sincerity of purpose, I agree. That's something that is lacking. In terms of leadership, we need, when you have just cited the example of the governor that visited. Probably the reason why they have not implemented what they saw there is because he has not gone back there with his harem of wives for sightseeing and enjoying the environment and the hospitality of the producers. When they have the opportunity of doing it, they will probably remember to implement. We have a long way. We have a long of catching up to do, but we need to start first. And I sincerely hope we'll wake up and do the needful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Vicky.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kunle Oladapo. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Your wealth of knowledge in this field is just legendary. We appreciate you for coming on to share this. And to all my panelists, thank you so much. Always, as always, thank you for coming. And we're all jack of all trades, isn't it? We talk about all these topics and we just make it work. I mean, share ideas in whatever that, in any way that we can. Mr. Kunle, towards the end, you mentioned something that is so dear to my heart. You said, let's catch them young. I think the older generation, they failed our country. We, at one stage, they failed Nigeria. We are not doing well ourselves. But I think, like you said, we need to do some work with the younger generations. There is a young girl in Sweden or Germany, Gretchen or
Sweden.
something like that. Sweden.
Yeah.
You know how vocal that young girl is? She's
Yeah.
been given all these awards and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She got interested in this and she's been so vocal. I think we need to do more with younger people. I've seen moms and dads that gave up cigarette smoking because the kids said, we watched it on TV that if you smoke, you're gonna die of cancer. We don't want you to die. Not one, not two couples that gave up smoking just because their kids learned about this, not someone telling them. They watched an advertisement, 1 minute advertisement to say, if you keep smoking, you're gonna get cancer, and if you get cancer, you're gonna die. And these kids became so, afraid. They don't want their parents to die. So they sat on their parents' neck, not literally, but that mom and dad, you've got to stop because we don't want you to die. Crying and carrying on. The parents gave up smoking because they don't want to upset those kids. Okay, I think probably Mr. Kunle, it's what needs to be done by the kids. We are not, generations of more our generation, we are still chasing food to think about environment. But if we can do a little bit with kids, if we can lecture them, if we can tell them the impact of the way we are doing things, I think there will be some changes happening. So to all our viewers today, we appreciate you. We thank you again, as always, for joining us and making comments. Creative Josh, we will give you 500 naira worth of airtime. Thank you for joining us. You're the first person to come on and comment, so thank you. So until next Saturday, when we come back we'll bring you another great topic. We say thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Kunle, once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We will always we'll call you again for to be one of our guest panelists.
No problem.
Soon. Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. I'll be happy to be back.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
All right.
You.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
It's LC the beat guy.